The National Investor's motto is, you can get information anywhere, but here you get knowledge. And for well over 40 years now, Chris Temple has imparted that knowledge, an unparalleled, understandable, and useful take on the big picture of the markets and of our world. He has been out in front of what you see on the news every day on many themes. More, Chris has taken this macro knowledge and his unique analytical abilities to uncover unique investment opportunities. Often, he has guided his members to big winners in resources, biotech stocks, and more. His talents and connections often getting him into ground floor opportunities before they are discovered. Without further ado, here is Chris with today's topic.
Welcome back. Today I want to give you an update on North Peak Resources. That's listed on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the symbol NPR. Here in the US on the OTCQB, it's under NPRLF. In just a moment, I'll have Rupert Williams, who is the CEO of North Peak, rejoin me. Before he does, a couple of the usual preliminaries, well, one anyway, and that is that Rupert and or myself might be making what could be construed as forward-looking statements. It's a very interesting project, very exciting one. They've got a tiger by the tail, I think, with Prospect Mountain in Nevada, and so there are a lot of hopes and expectations, but among other things, they'll need to be proven with the drill bit as time goes on. And in fact, that's why I've got Rupert on today. We're recording this on October the 16th on Thursday. Yesterday, on the 15th, they came out with news, as you see right here, announcing their drilling program is underway. For this particular point in time, they've got a few different targets. We're going to unpackage those, a couple of them especially, that could bring some near-term resources and then eventually cash flow for the company, all while they prepare for some deeper exploration and whatnot that you're going to hear about as well. Now, since I added North Peak Resources to my recommended list, the stock's up by about half, so that's nice. However, I don't think that's anything compared to what could come if the thesis behind the property and whatnot really bears fruit. If you've not seen it already, back in July, I've had Rupert on here and we gave an initial video profile of North Peak, talked a lot about Prospect Mountain. And what's remarkable about this is that you're dealing with the state of Nevada, which is one of the top mining jurisdictions, as most of you know, in the world. Some of the greatest success, some of the most robust production of silver and gold and more of any place on the planet for many, many decades now. And yet, amid all this, and kind of sandwiched in between, as you'll see here again, I-80 Gold and McEwen Mining, a couple other lesser known neighbors, you've got this Prospect Mountain area that had substantial production many decades ago, but has not been produced and has not been explored in any meaningful way with modern technology since the 1970s. And it's especially noteworthy when you understand what is nearby. And again, Rupert went into a lot of that detail, as did I in our prior video. I will have a link to that along with the show notes here, so you can go back and watch that if you're not already familiar with the story. Also, and I'll put the information on the screen here as well, spend some time at North Peak's website, get to know the story. This has got several different targets, again, a couple of them that could provide some hope for development near term, a couple other ones that'll take a little bit longer to flesh out. But you're looking at the potential, basically, folks, of a multi-million ounce gold resource over time, combined with the different things that they're looking at. Some silver, some zinc, also in the mix potentially, maybe even some copper. And it's in an environment right now where, yes, the stock has moved a little bit in sympathy with the bull market for gold, but we're only now starting to see investors who have come back to precious metals and especially to gold stories start to look at, with any seriousness at all, some of the companies like North Peak. You know, with its size, it's not going to be at the top of the list of a lot of institutions and so forth yet. But the longer this bull market goes on, and it's overdue to consolidate. As I'm recording this, we're $4,200 US plus in the gold price. the price in the recent past has gone almost parabolic. That is not sustainable, even for gold. And as I talk about in the current issue, the National Investor, immediately following this, even if we get a pullback, which is overdue and I think would be healthy, the fundamentals underneath the gold price today and the story underneath it compared to what we've seen in past spikes, in 1980, in 2007, later on in 2011, the world and the fundamentals have changed a lot. And so long term, there is still a very robust case for gold that a lot of people are starting to warm up to. We have in the recent past seen institutions and generalist investors come back. Actually, in the recent past, I've read setting some new records for monthly inflows into ETFs and stuff. And you don't have to go back much more than a year or so. There were still outflows, at least in the US, where gold ETFs were concerned. So this is starting to catch on, as inevitably happens when you have moves like this. They broaden out. The bullishness comes down to the smaller stocks, the junior explorers, and so forth. Not all of them deserve to go up if a mania really hits, but this is one, in my opinion, that will. And again, go back and watch the video that Rupert and I did back in July. Listen to the update today. Do your own homework, and you're going to be happy that you did. And here is Rupert Williams back with us, the CEO of North Peak Resources. Rupert, good to see you again.
Chris, thank you very much for having me on again.
Yeah, I already told people to go back if they hadn't seen it yet and look at our prior conversation back in early July, not long after I added North Peak to my recommended list. The stock is up nicely since then, but nothing, in my opinion, to what the potential is. We've seen a lot of the activity in the markets, given this big bullish run we've had for gold, start to trickle down to some of the juniors. But yours is a story that's still largely unknown. And interestingly, when you look at Prospect Mountain itself, it's a project that kind of, time passed it by for a while before you guys got your hands on it, didn't it?
Well, that's absolutely right, Chris. It's had no modern exploration on it since 1979. So it's missed out on the last two bull markets in gold. It's got a bit of catching up to do. We've got the drill rigs up there turning at the moment. Every time we've scratched this or had a look at it, we've been very pleased with what we've seen. We think there's a big deposit to be found there. The best place to look for gold is where it's been found before.
Yep.
And the most money you're going to make is in a discovery in a stock like this. So we're very bullish, and we think we've got the tiger by the tail here.
Well, and again, as I repeated before you came on, and as people can see when they go back and look at the video discussion you and I had of introducing Prospect Mountain to people back in July, you've got a lot of stuff that's happened, a few high-grade discoveries, especially by I-80, pretty much next door to where you're at. And a lot of potential where you are with a lot of already underground tunnels and workings, and some of the stuff to this day, it still astonishes me. I'm hoping to get a look at it, weather permitting, when I'm down in that part of the country before year end. But you said, and we're going to focus mostly in this update on yesterday as we're recording this, meaning the October the 15th is when you put the news out of your drilling program that's getting kicked off and what the targets are and why. But basically, you said in that press release, and I think it was a good characterization, that this has been a consolidation year for you at North Peak. You and Harry is the management now that's kind of running things. First off, not long after you and I had our conversation back in July that we recorded, you acquired the remaining 20% of the company that you didn't already own, and for good reasons, I think. I'll let you characterize that.
Yeah, we took it to 100% ownership because we'd drilled 6,000 meters up in the north part of the property in the Williams Warbash and got some fabulous grades that the market didn't really recognize this time last year. But we got 24 meters of 12 grams, and within that was 3 meters of 86 grams gold. And what we importantly got is we got 126 meters of just over a gram. So this shows that we've got high grade pods, and between it we've got a low grade halo. So this would mean it's very amenable to open pits across the top of the mountain, which is oxide material and easily leachable. So we're pretty excited about that. The replacement value of that infrastructure is tens of millions of dollars. It's probably more than our current market cap. And that gives us a unique view of the mountain from underground. And our geologist has been underground taking grab samples and channel samples and in an area around the Dean Cave. And we've press released these. He got a grab sample of 46.5 grams gold with about 570 grams silver, and one for 180 grams gold and nearly 1,000 grams silver. And that's in an area called the Dean Cave. And if we look above the Dean Cave, we've got 700 meters of oxides to the surface, which is unexplored. So we're looking forward to putting the drill hole down through that in the next couple of weeks and finding out what we hit there. But we know that back in the 40s and 50s, they were mining ore here between 0.5 ounce and 3 ounces of gold. So there's plenty of that high grade material left. That's what we're betting on anyway. People ask us how we're going to pay for all this exploration. We've got the waste pile, which we also announced. We've drilled that and we're awaiting assays. They will be back in the next couple of weeks. If it is between a gram and a gram and a half, which we anticipate, there's going to be about $20 million of cash flow to us there. There is a heap leach pad we can take the material to, less than 5 kilometers away. And that means we won't have to come back to the market and raise any more money. So that will pay for a lot of exploration, which will be, means we don't have the dilution. It means the stock price can just go even higher.
Well, that would be nice to see for sure, Rupert. Now, what's interesting as you go through that, the dump material, a lot of stuff, and people need to remember when especially if they're uninitiated, hear numbers like this, a lot of present day, especially with the increase in the gold price, heap leach gold mines. You've got what, 0.3 grams of gold per ton, give or take. And at 4,000 plus gold, they're making money. They were making money even starting before that, but now they're really making money. And these were all marginal projects only a couple of years ago. You've got between the dump material and also some of the drilling where you've had these high grade intercepts at surface, and you're going to be drilling more of this. You've got the potential for an oxide resource at surface that would have substantially higher grades than a lot of what's being produced right now.
Yeah, and going back to the waste pile, the reason that the waste pile hasn't been processed, it was literally they would look at the ore and they would say, "Well, we're gonna use that, and we're gonna put this on the waste pile. It doesn't look high grade to us." Okay. So they didn't know what they were chucking away, and they were mining, up to 3 ounce material. So there's some good stuff on there. Of course, there's some waste from the tunnels and some other material that won't run, but we think the average of it will be 1 to 1.5 grams. We actually hope it will be a little bit better than that, but we just have to wait and see.
And this is because it was from the days when people didn't use any scientific method. They just eyeballed stuff and said, "Wow, this looks great. We'll run this, and we'll throw this away because it's not as wow."
Yeah, and this is where we go back to the beginning of our conversation where I say no modern exploration on this since 1979. This is exactly what we did at Kirkland Lake. We went back to Kirkland Lake with a modern eye, modern techniques, and found there was a lot more gold there. We are betting that the same thing is going to happen here. And so far, every time we do anything to the property, it comes up, it doesn't disappoint us. So we took that option from 80% to 100% because the property hasn't disappointed us. We're pretty cautious and we like what we see.
And so after that acquisition of the remaining 20% of North Peak that you didn't already own, what does that make the share count be right now, Rupert?
We've got 44 million shares out and we're trading at $1. So we know it's easy to do the count. Even I can do that calculation,
And that's Canadian. So it's 44 million Canadian market cap,
we've got what? The dumps could be worth, we don't know yet, but we think cash flow to us probably at a gram, probably $20 million. So what's that? Kind of 27, 28 million Canadian. And then the underground infrastructure, what's 11 miles of underground tunnels worth? It's not cheap to put that infrastructure in.
Yeah, and again, folks, if you haven't done it, you've got to go back and watch our prior conversation for no reason other than this, because I added some photos along with Rupert's commentary. And for 44 million Canadian, what you want, 30 million US, give or take, you couldn't begin to replace the infrastructure that's already there for that amount of money.
That's absolutely right.
let alone have the upside potential of, combined, I think you could have several million ounces of gold, maybe some base metals down the road too, in some significant quantities for a market cap that's peanuts. And this is one of the opportunities I said before Rupert came on, folks, that is out there right now, is that there's a lot of really good greenfield exploration stories in this sense, maybe not all greenfield because you've got some past production, you've got some infrastructure there. And hey, as people start to look down the food chain, as a lot of the producers and developers are overpriced, there's a lot of stories out here like this, and I'm going to continue to say that repeatedly. So between those two areas, the waste
And
material.
we also have the sorry to interrupt, Chris.
No,
We
go
also
ahead.
have a third area below the water table
Right, and that's what I
at
wanted to get
800
to.
meters.
Yeah,
The
because
old
it's
timers couldn't get through, they couldn't deal with the water back in the days. We shot an MT survey. We came up with this very big anomaly. It's 2 kilometers wide by about a kilometer deep. And we got one drill hole into it. Wasn't easy to drill from surface down 1,000 meters. We got into it and we proved it is a mineralized sulfide ore body. We think it could be very, very big. We hit mainly silver and zinc. As we sample across the top of the mountain, it goes from silver and zinc to lead gold. We're very
right.
keen to get into it from the other side, maybe from underground. It's going to take a bit of time,
Oh, for sure, for
but
sure.
we think that has the ability to host 3 to 4 million ounces of gold,
Yeah,
and that's got us really excited. That's going to take a bit longer. We've got
right,
some good stuff to do in between, but that's where the real kind of massive upside potentially is.
right. And between here and there, you've got the waste material, and you've got this one at surface area of oxide
Yeah.
mineralization. You're going to continue to flesh out. That'll be more near-term development possibilities if everything goes well on the way to doing that. So with that area, Rupert, below the water table, tell me again what the near-term plans are for that as far as the present drilling program.
Well, what we want to do is we want to clear out one of the existing adits, which is
Okay.
about 150 meters above it. Try and get the drill rigs onto that tunnel, and then start drilling 100 to 150-meter holes down into the top of the sulfide deposit. Because drilling from surface was a nightmare. You're drilling through
Oh,
all the old
sure.
workings, you're losing water. Very technically very, very difficult and expensive to drill 1,000-meter holes with
Oh,
diamond.
right.
We'd much rather be punching shorter holes from underground, and then we can do that all year round. We can do that during the winter when the snows are here as well. So that we can drill up a storm basically from underground, but that's going to take some reconditioning.
Right.
It's not a huge amount of work, but it's going to take a little bit of time. Obviously, we need to get the permissions and everything else. This is a fully permitted mine, though, for 1,000 tons a day production, which is very rare in Nevada.
Right.
Somewhat put the cart before the horse because we don't have any resources yet.
Yeah.
But it's very nice to have the 1,000 ton a day permit. We've got water and electricity running into the
Yeah.
mountain.
Yeah.
And we're very close to the town of Eureka and Highway 50. So there's a lot to like about this project.
Oh, for sure. And with so
Oh,
many
for sure.
different kicks at the can coming up, so to speak. So just to clarify, this present drilling program, you're not going to do any of that drilling now, but you are doing some work to get the adit prepared so that you can bring in a rig underground.
That's correct. Yes,
Okay.
we'll be looking at doing that. Probably in the spring, starting work on the reconditioning of the adit.
Okay. And that's a story for a little bit later, but near term, you're going to be looking to flesh out more of the waste material, more of that near surface oxide target.
Yeah.
You've already done some work and
Yeah.
some drilling. And with the objective, I think, of having a resource estimate sometime next year.
Yeah, we think across the top of the mountain we could find 3 to 4 open pits of
Okay.
somewhere between 250, pardon me, 250 and 300,000 ounces each. So maybe 1.2 to 1.4 million ounces across the top. Yeah, and then we're interested what we've got around the old workings as well. All oxide
Sure.
material, all relatively easy to process.
Yeah, and that's a lot of low-hanging fruit, and again, as with other things in Nevada, one other story I've followed of, Florida Canyon, some people are familiar with that thing sat for years, and it was a plain vanilla project, but low grade. Now at 4,000 plus an ounce gold, it's making a lot of money, And you've got stuff so far that's several times the grade of what they're
Yeah.
producing there as far as what you've drilled out. And if that all continues to bear the same numbers, more or less, that's going to be even that much more attractive down the road.
Yep.
And as you pointed out, especially even with that waste material as a first matter, be able to fund a lot of this stuff going forward.
That's the big thing. It's avoiding the dilution. We've got a very tight shareholder base. The top
Right.
10 shareholders own 70% of the stock.
That's huge.
So we're nice and tightly held. We want to attract more retail shareholders into this. We think this is a US story for the US market. We don't think the stock has run far yet, so we think it's a great
Oh, no.
opportunity for retail investors to get involved. I don't think you can get hurt at these levels. Um, and I think it's going to be a really exciting story over the next 2-3 years as we drill out
Yeah.
this. I think we will get some very high grade material from the material around the old workings, where they were mining 1/2 to 3 ounce material. We think there could be plenty of that left as well. But the drill rig will tell us the truth.
Yep. I
There's one
couldn't
thing
agree
me
more.
waving my hands, and
Yeah.
another thing what the actual results are.
That's right. Well, I'm optimistic as all get out, as you know, and happy to be a shareholder. And look, folks, 30 million or so, maybe in the low 30s US market cap, 44 million or thereabouts Canadian market cap for the kind of upside that you've got here, the kind of past production. And you look at two very big neighbors who have had a lot of success between McEwen and I-80 Gold. And it's remarkable that this is something, it's one thing if you're going down in the jungles of Colombia or Ecuador and finding something that hasn't been touched in modern ways for decades, if ever. But here you're finding something that wasn't touched for decades, as you pointed out, nothing really going on since the late 70s, but in an established area with, a great jurisdiction, all the infrastructure, everything else around. Folks, this is one of the juniors that when more and more attention comes down to it, number one. And number two, when you start to do some more work and God willing, have some success with your drilling program, people aren't going to be able to overlook a 30 million US market cap here for long, and you will get re-rated.
Yeah, and you mentioned our neighbours there, and McEwen, which is to the south of us, has been drilling in an area that we call the lower PME. They have an old mine there called Windfall, and
Yep.
they've been drilling on that and getting some quite interesting results. And that is very, very close to our boundary. We believe that we've got part of that kind of has faulted off and moved up the mountain, and we're looking forward to drilling that. We call that the lower PME zone, and we are
Okay.
drilling that in this campaign. So that will
Wow.
be interesting to see.
It will be interesting to see. And of course, once we get more of that news, we're going to have you back again and continue to update people. Folks, as I said before, Rupert came on, do some homework. Here again on the screen is the information. Go to their website, follow North Peak, and likewise, follow yours truly if you don't already. If you're not getting this video directly from me, if you're getting it some other way, we've got a lot of stuff we're putting out in the near term on precious metals generally, more on North Peak specifically. You don't want to miss out on it. These are exciting times and crazy times, as you and I were sharing before I hit the record button between all of the things going on between the US and China and the markets and everything like that. It's no wonder that people are gravitating back to gold as never before. And base metals are going to be in play ever more going forward because of all of the jockeying. And what I have called, and I don't think it's too much hyperbole, Rupert, a World War III over commodities under control that's already been underway for a while and is starting to get a little bit more intense.
Yep, yep. I think I agree with all of that. The gold price has certainly moved up quite a way since we had the last chat.
Yeah,
And I'm hearing, there's a lot of speculation around silver. What's really happening with the silver price?
right.
Delivery. Can people get delivery of silver?
Yep.
It is all hotting up,
Yeah,
and it's not a bad place to be. Is owning a few shares in a gold explorer at the moment.
not hardly, not hardly. Well, thanks again for your time, Rupert. It was great to catch up. And folks, do your homework, keep in touch with both of us, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thanks for having me back on.
For much more of the National Investor's cutting-edge content and actionable investment opportunities, make sure to subscribe to Chris's free content at nationalinvestor.com. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel too. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.